Hello everyone, I'm Peter.
I'm Crystal.
I'm Nathan.
Christina.
Today we are going to talk about 3D printing. First, we are going to explain the history of 3D printing and how printing works. Then, we will explain how today 3D printing can be used for many industries, including healthcare and construction. Finally, we will answer the important question: how can 3D printing change society?
So what is 3D printing? 3D printing is a technology for manufacturing parts. It doesn't need a mold to create a product. Before we needed to make a new mold for every different product or part, this can be more expensive and wasteful.
A 3D printer can print anything with no mod. 3D printing only needs to stack the material, one small piece at a time.
The production process is very fast and low cost. It can create many different shapes using many different materials, so it is often used in the engineering industry, especially for prototyping design.
Let's learn about the history of 3D printing. 3D printing started in the 1980s. In 1984, Chuck Hull invented stereolithography, which used liquid plastic to make something layer by layer and UV light to make the liquid plastic hard. We still use SLA printers today to make small precise parts.
Later, false deposition modeling 3D printing was invented in 1988 by Scott Crumb. FDM is not as precise as SLA, but it can print without a laser, so it is much cheaper.
FDM 3D printers have become cheap enough for anyone to try one, which has made 3D printing much more popular. So today, SLA 3D printing is used for small parts that need to be pressed, and FDM 3D printing is used for large, simple parts.
FDM printers are also very cheap as 19,000 NT dollars. So they are the most popular for learning about 3D printing and for 3D printing as a hobby.
Now let's look at how 3D printers are used in industries. Originally, 3D printing was mostly used for prototypes and models.
Vital Auto is a design studio in the UK that specializes in automotive design. The company makes designs for many of the largest automotive companies in the world, such as Volvo, Nissan, Lotus, McLaren, and more.
Vital Auto needs to experiment with different technology and designs to make the best new car designs possible. 5 to 30 people at the company spend 3 to 12 months on one car design. The design can change many times during that time.
Look at the car designs carefully. Vital Auto makes 3D printed models and prototypes of the car designs. Vital Auto has 14 large FDM printers and 8 large SLA printers.
3D printers help Vital Auto to make many custom designs quickly. And 3D printing is much cheaper than making models by hand. The traditional way, 3D printing is also more flexible than traditional production because you can print when orders come in instead of making a lot of products early. This makes it less risky and translates into a lower cost of production. 3D printing is already essential to make design companies, and it's growing every year.
Now 3D printers are also cheap enough that many people use them at home to make their own designs and replacement parts at home.
Here's an example of a design: cable savers.
A common problem with phone chargers and other USB cables is that they end up fraying. Someone invented this design to 3D printed these cable savers at home to protect both ends.
It's one of the best ways to prevent iPhone cables from fraying because they share their design online. Anyone with a 3D printer can download the design and print one. Also, anyone can try to improve the design and can share their changes. Let's look at another example. A self-mountaining soap dish.
Soap dishes are very convenient and very useful. They are something that has a high replacement rate. With 3D printer, you can design any interesting soap dishes like. Let's look at one more everyday example. What happens if the knob on your stove breaks, or the nozzle for your vacuum, or the handle on your rice cooker lid? It can be difficult to find a replacement part. Sometimes people throw away their rice cooker and buy a whole new rice cooker just because a little plastic handle is broken. But now, many people are 3D printing this little plastic part. You can find design online for almost any replacement part you need. So how is 3D printing making our life easier and better? We can invent useful, creative things for our everyday life, like cable servers or cool soap dishes. We also don't need to make more waste by buying new things when sometimes small break. We can be more sustainable by making our own replacement parts. We can learn to use technology in our everyday lives to be more creative and sustainable. And now, 3D printers are being used for more and more large industries like construction and medicine.
3D printers can print plastics, concrete, metal, or almost any other material layer by layer, so they are perfect for construction.
Construction 3D printing is a method of manufacturing construction parts or entire buildings with a 3D printer. Let's look at a few examples.
3D printed bridges can be built faster with less materials and fewer workers. And as a common piece of infrastructure, these benefits could save massive amounts of time and money.
First 3D printed steel bridge was built in Amsterdam in July 2021. It's 12 meters long, and the company MX3D is collecting data from sensors on the bridge to improve their designs, so they can make their bridge even more efficient in the future.
The biggest advantage of 3D printed buildings is the low cost, and the building can be printed in large pieces that are easy to put together instead of many small boards nails. Then the whole building can be much stronger.
For example, a 3D printing construction company, Winson 3D Printed, used a huge 10-meter tall 3D printer to print 10 houses in just 24 hours in 2014. And in 2015, Winson printed the tallest 3D printed building, a 5-story apartment building. In the same year, Winson printed a mansion, and one of the mansions was bought by a Taiwanese real estate company for only $160,000.
One of Winson's main goals is to make construction faster and cheaper, so they can provide affordable housing for low-income families.
The company also says that traditional buildings are almost impossible to recycle, but their 3D printed buildings are easy to take apart and recycle.
In conclusion, 3D printed construction can make buildings cheaper, faster, and more sustainable by saving materials. Next, let's look at what 3D printing can do for healthcare.
Believe it or not, 3D printing is already become useful and popular in healthcare too. We are going to look at 3 examples. First, 3D printed prosthetic limbs. Second, 3D printed skin. Third, 3D printed organs.
How can 3D printed parts be better? People with missing limbs need prosthetics made specially for them. This can be very expensive and take a long time.
This problem is even worse for children who need new prosthetics as they grow larger. Luckily, 3D printing prosthetics can be made quickly and cheaply, so it's no problem to make new prosthetics every year for grown kids.
In conclusion, 3D printed prosthetics can provide patients with higher quality of life, save patients a lot of money, be made very quickly.
3D printed skin can be used for testing beauty products and medicine. This can save animals from animal testing labs. It is also more accurate testing because it's real human cells. Printed skin can even be used directly on wounds to heal people faster.
Medicine Sans Frontiers has even used 3D printed prosthetics and 3D printed skin in the middle of war zones. Because traditional medical tools are too large and expensive to bring into a war zone. But 3D printers are smaller, cheaper, and faster.
The doctors use 3D printings to scan, design, and print prosthetic limbs for people who would have no access to them. If 3D printed prosthetics and skin can be used in war zone, it can be used anywhere. If people are sick and urgently need organs, 3D printed organs can be used. It is impossible to find enough organ donors for everyone who needs an organ transplant. Many people die waiting for an organ transplant. 3D printed organs can help supply organs for everyone who needs one.
3D printing organs can also be much better for patients because they are made using the patient's cells. For this reason, the patient's body will accept the 3D printing organ much more quickly and easily than another person's organ.
In conclusion, 3D printing can be used anywhere by anybody. 3D printing can be used in schools to teach us about technology. 3D printing can be used to make prototypes and models for new products. 3D printing can be used at home to be creative and make new things, or to be more sustainable by making replacement parts. 3D printing can be used to build bridges, apartments, and homes. 3D printing can be used in medicine, even in war zones. And 3D printing can do all of these things faster, cheaper, and by using less resources to be more